All right, everybody, hello and welcome back to our video series on the Kybalion, where we are checking out the 7 Hermetic principles, the foundational uh, pillars that tie together all of the ancient spiritual, esoteric, alchemical, religious practices and traditions. In this video, we're going to be looking at Chapter 2, which is essentially a brief summary of the 7 Hermetic principles. Now, each of these will get its own chapter later on in the book where we'll go into more detail. But for now, we're just going to introduce the 7 principles, give a little bit of explanation about them, and talk about how they apply to our practices and why they're important for, as I said, for spiritual cultivation, for inner alchemy, for meditation, for the internal martial arts, all the things that we practice and teach here at Holy Awakening and Thunder Dragon Neigong. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get started on it here, Chapter 2. The 7 Hermetic Principles. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these, understandingly, possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. So as I've said before, understanding these 7 principles is the key to being able to bring together all of these varied and often difficult to understand teachings across ancient Chinese, Vedic, Jewish, Christian cultures, all these different cultures, the Norse cultures, Greco-Roman cultures, all of these ancient cultures had these same principles underlying them that are simply observations of reality and how it functions, what its nature is. And in the uh, symbolism that we see in things like Chinese medicine or alchemy uh, or in the internal martial arts, all of these symbols, these mythologies, are simply showing us how the energies flow, how reality functions, how things work in nature. And so an understanding of these 7 Hermetic principles, before we get into all these more complicated matters, really helps us to be able to decipher what we're looking at when we start going into these things. I often will use the example of Chinese medicine because uh, so very often when I listen to uh, Westerners try to explain the symbolism of Chinese medicine, it's painful to listen to because they by trying to explain one thing, in the process, you also have to explain everything, all the words that you're using to explain it must also be explained, which then the words you use to explain those things must all be explained, and it keeps subdividing and subdividing, and it just becomes a rabbit trail of nonsense. And it's so much easier if before you try to decipher all this symbology, that you simply understand the cosmology, the worldview, the underlying philosophy of origin. How did things come to be? How do they function? How are they held together? And if you understand these core principles first, then when you look at the fire or the earth elements, the 5 elements or the yin and the yang, all these things, it makes so much more sense. It's more easy to follow. So you have to start in the right place. You can't just start further on in the medicine theory. You have to first start at the cosmology. Start there, learn how things work, how things function, and then you can see how they're manifested in various ways and how they interact with each other. So that's why we're going to look at this, why I find it so important for especially beginning students, to understand basic Hermetic philosophy first. It makes everything else just go so much more smoothly and saves so much time and effort of trying to understand and describe all of these different strange symbols. So, the 7 Hermetic principles upon which the entire Hermetic philosophy is based are as follows. Number 1, the principle of mentalism. Number 2, the principle of correspondence. Number 3, the principle of vibration. Number 4, the principle of polarity. Number 5, the principle of rhythm. Number 6, the principle of cause and effect. And number 7, the principle of gender. These 7 principles will be discussed and explained as we proceed with these lessons. A short explanation of each, however, may as well be given at this point. So here we go, a brief summary of each of the 7 principles. First, foundation to all of it is the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. Now, right off the bat, this flies in the face of our common modern thought that everything is material. The prevailing theory and philosophy of our age is materialism, secular materialism. Everything started out as matter, and it gradually evolved into more complex matter, and then from there mind emerged, which has a logical problem in it. If mind and matter are 2 separate things and they have no common properties, then you can't have the one coming from the other. Also, we have the issue of infinite regress, where matter had to come from other matter, and it can't just go on forever. We get these problems where we have to say, well, this begat that, begat that, begat that, but where did it start? We say it started at the Big Bang, okay? Why? Where did that come from? Where did the cosmic egg, the original point of the Big Bang, where did that come from, and why did it happen? What laws of physics were there that caused that to be, and where were the laws of physics? All of these problems can't be answered. People have tried and failed to answer them. Each attempted answer just brings more questions. What we're going to look at here is that matter did not come first. Mind came first. Mind did not emerge from matter. Matter emerged from mind. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances, which we know under the terms the material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses. All of this is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite living mind. So what we're saying here is the all, that which predates all things, that which gives rise to all things, that original, infinite, universal source that begat all creation. The all is spirit. It is God. The spirit itself is unknowable and undefinable. No man has seen God nor can see him. We cannot in our finite human minds truly and fully comprehend God, spirit. But we can speak of the first emanation of spirit, which is mind. Mind is the first thing that comes out of spirit that can be discussed truly and truly experienced and known. Mind is the source from which all creation comes. We see this in all of the traditions, where in the Chinese tradition, the Taoist tradition, we have the Wuji, the void, the nothingness. But in the East, when we say nothing, we don't mean like we think of in the West as a complete vacuum. It's not a vacuum. When we say nothing, we mean no thing. There is no manifest thing, but there is potential for all things. So nothing, the void, actually holds within it everything, but no thing has yet been manifest. And this is equivalent to what we see in other traditions, Gunungagap in the Norse tradition, the yawning chasm from which everything emerges. As we see in the book of Genesis, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, where everything was formless and void, and the Spirit of God moved over the waters. This is the idea of no thing, no created thing, no manifest thing, but yet there is potential, there is the Spirit, that which will give rise to all things. Then from the Wuji, from stillness, comes the Taiji. The yin and the yang separate. Movement begins. Creation begins to stir. Now, we'll talk in more detail about this later, as I said. But this is vital to understand if we're going to get the most out of our alchemical or spiritual or cultivation practices. Because the secular materialist view is not only incoherent, illogical, but it lacks the ability to truly delve into and comprehend the practices that we're trying to embark on, the practices that we are engaging in to refine and perfect the self, to refine and perfect the spirit. A worldview that does not even acknowledge a spirit is not going to ever be able to reach the depths of spirit. And so, right from the get-go, we see that this material secular view is not going to get very far in these practices. To take all of this into a more contemporary understanding, we can see all of this reflected in modern quantum mechanics, quantum physics, where it's understood that everything, all the material, all the matter that we interact with in our daily lives is in fact the result of mathematical frequencies, vibrations. Vibrations, which we would say emanate from mind. Thought waves. And here again, this corresponds to the ancient teachings. In Scripture, God spoke and creation was manifest. What is speech? It is the vibration of an intent. In the very name of God, Yod He Vav He, the Tetragrammaton, the Yod represents the idea, the spark. The Yod brings forth, it's the intent behind the Logos, the word that comes forth and creates all things. So what we are discovering now in modern science is actually perfectly aligning with and validating what these ancient traditions have always taught. It's as if we always knew what the truth was, and then for a time we became arrogant and forgot all of it and thought that we were our gods, and thought that, well, everything is just dead mechanistic matter, that we in our own wisdom are the pinnacle of reality. And now modern quantum science is now revealing, oh no, the ancient people were always right. We had it right from the beginning. And that's what we need to come back around to, really, is just getting back to a fundamental understanding of reality that people have always had up until the past few centuries when we became deluded in our own ego. So, more on that later. We'll continue on here. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great Hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. Understanding this allows us to better utilize these principles in our practices, which we'll get into later. But if we don't understand these things at the start, it's going to be very difficult to understand what we're doing in the practices. So you see, this is very important that we get our cosmology correct first, so that we can put proper intent, proper mind into our practice, because that is the key to everything. As we see here, everything that is a product of mind. Now, again, our modern culture sees that as being ludicrous. It's just, well, that means it's all imaginary, right? No. Mind is what is real. And the physical is an emanation of the mind. The physical reflects the mind. The physical is how it is. Every physical thing is how it is because of a specific mathematical frequency that underlies it and causes it to be that way, as opposed to any other way that it might be. And these underlying mathematical frequencies are mental vibrations. They are coming forth from the mind of God. As famous physicist Michio Kaku once said, we are wisps of thought floating in the mind of God. And this is how it is. Everything is in God. Now, we often hear about pantheism, that everything is God. No, everything is not God. The rocks and the hills and the trees and these things are not God. They are in God. We are all in God's mind. We are products of the mathematical frequencies, the vibrations of the thoughts of God. The Yod giving rise to Logos, giving rise to creation. This is what we are. And so the mental is what is the most real thing that there could ever be. So, understanding this, we then, in our practice, are able to utilize our mind, our intent, to be able to affect alchemical change in our bodies, in our surroundings. And this is what we're trying to do at the deepest layers of practice. So, the Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner. Here again, the more we know about this, the more effective we'll be. The deeper we'll be able to go, the more results we'll be able to get. With the master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinate to the mystery of mind, the mastery of mind. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote long ages ago, "He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery." And these words are as true today as at the time they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple. So this is incredibly important. The first and foremost of the 7 principles is to understand the mental nature of the universe. Your body is a product of your mind. We know this in our health, that our thoughts have a direct effect. Our thoughts, our intentions, our beliefs have a direct effect on the quality of the cells, the tissues, the fluids, the energetics, the bioelectrical fields of our body. We can create our bodies to be as healthy and strong or as sickly and weak as our mind desires. Learning to use this is not easy, but it is the most important thing that we can possibly accomplish in our alchemical practice. Now, we can do the taiji for relaxing, we can exercise and release tension, but true taiji, true internal martial arts, the true alchemical practices involves gaining mastery over our physical being, over our mental being, so that we can unite in harmony and create a vessel that is healthy and strong and functional, able to do what we need it to do. A mind that is disciplined, strong, able to function as we need it. And spirit that is cultivated to be disciplined and true, to follow in harmony with the path of God. So we'll call this video here. We will continue probably several more lessons on just chapter 2, because we're going to get into each of these 7 principles, and then we'll further elaborate on them as we go on into the book. So I hope you enjoy. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell button, whatever they have on wherever you're watching this, to be notified for other educational videos, teachings, training videos. Be sure to check out our website for classes, courses, consultations, and all that good stuff. We will see you again next time, and take care.